What's up, guys? It is Ben with 2020 election predictions, and tonight is the night of the first presidential debate. Is a big night. Donald Trump and Joe Biden. This is the first time that they're going to go head to head. We're about 1 month from the presidential election, and tonight is definitely going to be a night that a lot of people are going to tune in. I've said this in the past. I think this is going to be the most highly viewed presidential debate in history. And I think this for several reasons because I don't think that a lot of people have been able to kind of see the candidates on the campaign trail. But because of COVID, we've seen that rallies have been canceled, and I really don't think that we've actually seen as much campaign coverage as we had, like, let's say in 2016. In 2016, I remember if you turn on Fox, CNN, or any of kind of the mainstream news organizations, I mean, you were constantly just seeing Trump, Hillary Clinton, like just back and forth. I think now there's a lot more kind of nuance in the news coverage, whether it's COVID, whether it's sports coming back, whether it's kind of the social justice movement. So I honestly don't think that we've seen kind of a lot of focus kind of on Joe Biden, the candidate. I mean, I think Trump has kind of been he's always kind of the news story, but I really don't think there's been as much scrutiny, let's say, on the candidate of Joe Biden. It's kind of been more of a focus on maybe like Ruth Bader Ginsburg, maybe kind of the Black Lives Matter movement. So we definitely really haven't seen or much kind of asked of Joe Biden. He's kind of run most of his campaign kind of online. Hasn't done a ton of interviews, so I think this is going to be kind of one of the most highly anticipated debates that we see, and I think that it has a lot of has huge potential to kind of move the era. I think that expectations are pretty low for Biden, so I think that might kind of be baked into what people are watching tonight. So if Biden doesn't have a great debate, that might be kind of what is expected. And if Biden kind of has an average debate, people might say, like, okay, well, that's better than what we expected. So I think Trump has the potential to really change the race here. But I really don't think it's going to matter that much if each candidate kind of has an average debate performance. I think Trump needs to look very, very strong, and I think he needs to make Biden look very badly. And if he doesn't do that, then I really don't think it's going to have much effect at all. Um, so with the six debate topics, I actually think that these probably favor Trump. If we kind of look at each debate topic that was chosen by Chris Wallace, the first one is the Trump and Biden records. 2, the Supreme Court. 3, COVID-19. 4, the economy. 5, race and violence in our cities. And 6, the integrity of the election. So I would assume that both candidates would have prepared for these debate topics, because I mean I really think this might be the tipping point in the election. I think that if Biden or if Trump doesn't have a good night, he might be toast, because the looking at the history of kind of the polling and where candidates have experienced a polling bump in relation to the debates, it's always come after the first debate. I really don't think that the second and third debates are going to matter as much. I really don't think that the vice presidential debate will have much impact at all. But I mean, I expect record-breaking numbers at least kind of for the first 30 minutes of the election. I mean, even if you aren't super interested in politics, I mean, I think it's kind of going to be like something that's going to bring people together, whether it's a social gathering or people might play drinking games to the presidential debate. But I definitely want to get to y'all's questions here. And there's you can always kind of use the super chat feature too, of course. But let's see. Liberal socialist in the chat says, I'm betting on ABC, CBS, and NBC will have 5 million viewers. So yeah, I definitely think this is going to be there's going to be a huge viewership. I honestly think that Chris Wallace is probably the best debate moderator, so they kind of brought it back for the first one. And I really think that this debate is kind of going to set the scene for I kind of view it as the beginning of the end of the presidential campaign. And I mean, I think that a ton of people are going to be watching. Will it change that many minds? I don't think so. The only way that I can see this kind of having a big impact is if Biden looks really, really weak. And I think that this is a distinct possibility. I mean, I think that Biden did fine in the Democratic primary debates, but he is getting older, and I mean, I think Trump is going to be a tougher opponent than maybe some of his Democratic debate um, colleagues. So I think all the pressure is going to be on Biden because he is up in the polls. He has more to lose. I mean, if Trump doesn't do well in this debate, I think he might be done. I don't think he'll have really a chance. So you could argue that there's also a lot of pressure on Trump, but I think that Biden definitely his performance is more volatile. I think that we kind of know Trump. I mean, we've watched him for the past 4 years. We saw him debate Hillary Clinton. We could kind of know what he's about. We know his debating style. It's very combative and stuff. And we've seen Biden in the Democratic primary debates. He did fine in those. He did kind of trip up on some things, and he looked kind of flustered at times. He did have some gaffes, but he did fine. I think that if he kind of copies one of the debates that he did from the Democratic primary debates, I think there's not going to be much movement. However, if Biden really struggles, if he struggles with his words, if Biden or if Trump on every issue is kind of winning each kind of debate talking point, like I said, there were 6, then I think this could have some movement in the polls. One thing that I think is pretty interesting too is that a lot of votes have already been cast even before the first presidential debate. I think a lot of these have been Democratic cast votes. So I mean, obviously, those votes are not going to change based on this first presidential debate, because obviously those votes have already been cast, and that's something that we haven't seen in the past. We've seen that early voting has been extended and lengthened because of the coronavirus pandemic. But I would love to get to the chat to kind of answer some of y'all's questions and see what kind of y'all are thinking right now. I think some of the areas where kind of Biden could really trip up is maybe with his answers on one of the categories that Chris Wallace chose was race and violence. I definitely think that there's going to be a lot of questions kind of on the racial issues and kind of the social unrest in this country. Biden has kind of made some gaffes on this comment, saying that the blacks are not as diverse as the Latino community. And then also he said that like if you aren't sure whether you're for Trump or Biden, then you aren't black. So if Biden kind of has a similar comment and it's in front of a bunch of people, I definitely think that might kind of drive turnout down, especially among voters of color. I doubt that many people are going to go from the Biden train to the Trump train. But I think if Biden has a really poor performance, I think that kind of could have his numbers come down. I think that's similar to why some people didn't vote for Hillary Clinton, more left-wing people didn't vote for Hillary Clinton. That could happen to Biden if he kind of really lays an egg during this presidential debate. So definitely, I think that Biden has more to lose because his polling lead at least at the national level, and even if you look by state, has been pretty consistent. Probably better than Hillary Clinton, but I think more people are thinking that Trump is probably going to do better than he did kind of in the 2016 debates, because I think that, I mean, no one can really argue that I think that they think Joe Biden is a better debater than Hillary Clinton was in 2016. I don't think Biden's just as sharp as he used to be. I mean, I think definitely he's been prepped a lot, but I think when you're in front of the lights with millions of people watching, that's definitely a different scenario there. So one interesting kind of marker to look at will kind of be the polls that get released after the debate. There's definitely kind of going to be a lag um, in probably about a week for us to kind of know what effect they have. Part of me kind of predicts that this first debate really won't have a huge impact, just because in the past they typically haven't moved the race. I think in 2020 they definitely have the biggest potential to kind of move the debate, um, or move kind of the polls and kind of move where people are going. But there's less undecided voters in 2020 than there ever have been because people are so partisan. Um, I definitely don't think it's going to have much of an effect. But Trump is really hoping that he can do a debate. So kind of going to the uh, chats over here, Camden Mazzoni. I've read Biden has prepared a ton for the debate with mock debates, and Trump hasn't as much because he likes going off script. Do you think this will influence either candidate's performance much? So I definitely think that we saw this in 2016. I mean, Hillary Clinton, I think you could definitely tell was a lot more prepared. I think just kind of looked more rehearsed, and she kind of had her talking points. So she was very smooth with this. Um, I I think with Biden, this definitely could help him if Trump is kind of all over the place and kind of doesn't have one central message. Because I think it's kind of a criticism of Trump is he's so off the cuff and he gets easily distracted, goes in like all these different directions. Like if you actually kind of look at one of Trump's sentences, it can go like in 100 different directions. However, I think one thing we've kind of seen with Trump's political rise is that kind of people kind of like the off the cup, going off script, and people kind of are a little bit more um, a little bit more suspicious of people who are very rehearsed and kind of look the part and kind of have the script. So I definitely think that like all the pundits will say, "Oh, look, Biden is more prepared. He kind of looked better. He was more had his talking points more." But I mean, if you kind of look at the average American voter, um, I don't know how that is going to come off. So we will definitely see whether that has an effect there. Um, all right, so I definitely want to get to people's question. The debate, we only have 15 more minutes, and so I'm definitely going to do a post debate analysis. So definitely be here for that. But if y'all kind of have any more questions, I would love to answer them. I mean, I think this is going to be a huge event. So definitely, I'm going to hop off probably about 5 minutes before the debate, just because. Um, I want y'all to watch it, and I'm definitely going to watch it too. And someone's asking me, are you team Trump or team Biden? Neither right now, and kind of in these videos, I try to be unbiased as possible. Some other things that I might think might affect the debate and kind of which candidate wins is going to be kind of the moderator. I'm definitely going to be looking very intently at kind of like how Chris Wallace looks at different things, kind of the different questions he asks, and maybe like how much he fact checks. Because and I definitely don't think that Chris Wallace wants to be the story. He kind of wants to focus on more of like the candidates, and Chris Wallace doesn't want to be criticized for being too biased or kind of disrupting kind of the flow of the debate. So I think that's going to be one factor. I really think that Chris Wallace it is a good choice. I think some people on the left were not happy that Chris Wallace was chosen because he works for Fox News, and they weren't necessarily happy with the debate topics that were chosen, because I definitely think that they probably helped Trump. Um, overall, just kind of going down the list here, we can see that if we look here, the Supreme Court, I think that typically tends to be a winning issue for the Republicans. The economy, that tends to be a winning issue, I think, for Trump. If you kind of break down the polls, um, I think kind of for the Trump and Biden's record, I think that could be pretty even. And then for the COVID-19, that this is the one of the issues that I think will help Biden. But with race and violence in our cities, I definitely think that the race part, people, if you look at the polls, they tend to trust um, uh, Biden more to kind of like heal the racial wounds in our country, and this is kind of one of Biden's main talking points. And then also, but with the violence in the cities, we've actually seen that some of Biden's support has dropped in response, kind of some of the growing violence. So I mean, this is definitely something that Biden doesn't want to talk about, and Trump has been talking about a lot. So I mean, I think kind of that issue is twofold, and I'm kind of surprised that they put them into two different things. Um, let's see. So I definitely think that Chris Wallace is a good choice for the debate moderator. I'll definitely be very interested to see who they choose for the next two debates, because I think that this first debate with uh, uh, Chris Wallace will kind of set the stage for the rest of the debate. Um, so And then lastly, kind of the integrity of the election. I think it's going to be a pretty interesting debate question, because I don't think that a lot of people trust mail-in voting. Trump has kind of been hammering mail-in voting, and I definitely think that more Democrats will vote by mail, but still, I think that most people are going to try to vote in person if they can. But I think that's definitely going to be a question that I mean, it's definitely on people's minds. And with COVID, I mean, with it, everything is just so crazy right now, and I think that um, Biden and Trump, I'll be very interested to kind of look at their answers to that question right now. So right now we're about 10 minutes from the debate, and I just kind of want to answer any of your kind of last questions. I'll probably end this live stream at about 8:55 Eastern, but then I'll definitely be right after the debate, kind of giving my post-debate analysis on everything that happens. I really expect them to have some big fireworks, some big moments. There's definitely going to be some kind of clips, some sound bites that come out after this debate. And I mean, I definitely think it's going to be talked about on the news for many days after, in until the second debate. Whether it has a huge impact kind of on the voters, I'm kind of a little bit suspicious that it's going to have that much impact, maybe on the polls or kind of on the swing states that will decide who our next president is going to be. But I think this is definitely going to get a lot of coverage overall, and a lot of people are going to be tuning in tonight to watch this debate. Whether you're interested in politics or not, I would assume that all the viewers right now are probably going to tune into the debate, because I assume since y'all are watching right now, that y'all are probably interested in politics and stuff. But I think people who even aren't that interested in politics, but like I think they're going to watch just kind of for the sport of it. It's going to be kind of like a sports events for them. Because I mean, the 2016 debates, I thought they were frankly very entertaining on many different levels. Because the personal attacks, even though they're probably not the best for kind of learning about policy and different things, I definitely think they're entertaining to look at, and it's a little bit like reality TV that I know that a lot of people like to watch. So anyway, thank y'all for joining this live stream. I will be back after the debate, so please tune in here right after. I think it's going to be about 90 minutes to 1 hour, so I'll probably be on like close to 11 o'clock Eastern, but definitely come back here. Tell your friends to join. You want to be kind of the first one to hear my reaction. I'm definitely going to be doing kind of a larger video on this later, but you definitely want to kind of hear my live reactions after this video. So thank you all for tuning in, and definitely come back afterwards, and see you then. Thanks, guys.